how the real estate market sales are doing right now amidst the COVID-19 coronavirus. Stay tuned to this week's episode of Prime Properties TV. Promise you, it'll be worth it. Good day, Toronto. Welcome to another episode of Prime Properties TV. So glad you could join me here today. This is week 2 of staying home, self-isolation, and this is exactly how I'm going to be keeping my sanity. You can see here, this is how we're playing with Coco. I'm going to be providing you some cute Coco photos and videos in hopes that it will kind of brighten up your mood, because in grim times like this, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of joy here and there for you, okay? Because I know it's a little bit tough. As promised, I took a look into the numbers of March so far to kind of give everyone an idea of how the market's doing before and after the announcement of COVID-19 as a pandemic. So for timeline purposes, let's use the day the World Health Organization announced COVID-19 was a pandemic. So this would be March 11th or the Tuesday on the second week of March. Now, before I talk in numbers, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to the PPTO channel, because I want to be able to spread some positivity, because there's a lot of fear going around right now. So I want to use Coco, the little puppy, to kind of spread that out there. Okay. Now, the numbers I pulled were mainly from Toronto and from the 416 and not really the 905. It's just to give you an idea of what the numbers look like. So you can see over here at the chart that the first week of March was freakishly strong. We had almost 2 times as many sales as we had listings. Now, in normal market watches, I just use a metric called months of inventory, but for the purposes of tracking quicker, we're going to use weeks of inventory. Now, the first week of March, you can see that we're at 0.48 weeks of inventory. And that is freakishly strong. If we continue at the pace, it would be absolutely crazy, and it looked like we were heading there. However, with the pandemic announcement on Tuesday of the second week, you can see that we got more inventory. Now, I don't have a conclusive answer to why we got more listings, other than maybe some thoughts of people panic selling or people maybe getting ready for March break. But that doesn't usually make sense, because more properties come on after March break, which would be the 4th week of March of 2020. So, you know, that kind of doesn't make sense. Anyways, the sales remained consistent, but we got more inventory for the second week. Now, the number of sales will indicate that the real estate transactions were still going, and judging from what I was seeing, it very much was because of all the activity and the holdbacks I was seeing. And then we go to the third week, and you can see that there was a huge surge in listings in March break, which is quite weird. This is usually not the case, especially in the previous years, which leads me to believe that there are a lot of people panic selling, or they probably are just freaking out because they can't carry their property amidst this recession that will be coming. Now, the weeks of inventory were doubled from second week and then quadrupled on the third week from the first week of March, which is crazy if you think about it. At least looking at these numbers, we can tell that the sales are still kind of easing off on how crazy March could have gone. However, you know, 642 sales in a week is still pretty good, pretty good. If we look at the numbers from last year in 2019 and we compare it to this year, now 2019 was a weaker year, and you can see that the first 2 weeks were almost 50% increase from this year to last year, which is nuts, completely bonkers, which totally makes sense because we saw those numbers in February of this year as well. However, the third week remained relatively the same. How you look at it is totally up to you. The fact that there's a pandemic on our hands, realtors are told to stop holding open houses, but we're still getting the same amount of sales as we got last year, that's one way to look for it. Is the market still pushing forward? And I get that there's a lot of supply right now, but what we always have to come back to is there enough demand for the amount of supply we have? And it's always what I circle back to, because if we have enough buyers for the supply we're getting, then it's still a seller's market. In a pandemic, we're still maybe not seeing enough supply to quench the demand. We'll see next week, you know, when the COVID-19 announcements get more and more serious, and maybe a potential lockdown could be in place. So what's going to happen this coming week, we'll see. So make sure you stay tuned to the PPTO channel, subscribe to the channel, and click the little bell notification so you know when I release the next video about what's kind of going on in the market. Now, other things I want to talk about that's happening in the market is that it looks like tomorrow, because today is March 23rd, tomorrow the government is going to get together and probably releasing another stimulus package, or at least talking about another stimulus package. Remember, the first one kind of gave us $27 billion to the population and $55 billion in tax deferrals. I expect multiple stimulus packages for Canadians in the coming months. Another troubling thing that I'm seeing, and it's kind of out there, it's kind of weird, I don't want to touch on it, but I just want to let you guys know, is there's a hashtag going on in Toronto called Keep Your Rent. It's a tricky subject to kind of talk about because basically there's a group of tenants gathering and banding together to not pay rent for the landlords because they're upset that the landlords got a 6-month mortgage deferral, but the tenants didn't really get a rent deferral. Now, their website's saying that they're taking advantage of the fact that there's no eviction notices that's happening at the landlord and tenant board right now. And this is kind of a slippery slope that I may not want to head down because it's kind of going to cause a larger divide between those who are tenants and landlord, and that's already kind of been a very large divide in Toronto anyways. Now, I can totally empathize with tenants because I was there before, and you want to save your money and pay for emergency supplies before rent, which makes total sense. And that may be out of your hand depending on what your job situation is. However, I will have a paralegal on the show tomorrow to talk about these situations in length. So if you're a tenant or a landlord and you have questions and you want them answered, make sure you leave them in the comment below. Or if it's a little bit more sensitive, I'll put my contacts right here so you can send me an email and we'll do our best to email them. So until next time, stay safe, wash your hands, stay at home, be well. Your move, your future. Now that you're done watching this one, how about this one? Oh, you know what? This one's good too. Ooh, this one's really good. You know what? Just watch them both.